So, I guess I have some splaining to do. First of all, before I get into anything, if I had words for the feeling I got and get from reading the love that I've got over the last week or so for what I've been going through, I would put them here. I would say them. I promise you I would. But I mean, you got to understand, as somebody without any direct family besides my baby sister, it's so I crave it to such a it's almost it's an illness almost. So that love you guys give me is so important in my life, and I've never received it at the level that I've received it over the last week. And I'd say thank you, but that doesn't feel like enough. But I don't know a better term than that. So thank you, I guess. But like I said, that doesn't sound satisfying. It doesn't nearly embody how I feel when I read. I mean, I just got home and I've been reading through all of the support that you guys have been texting to my phone that Lynn has had, and all the stuff on the video that she made, and on my Facebook wall, and on TR. I'm sorry, the Hip Hop Shelter, and on Club XB, and I mean, it's just overwhelming is an understatement. And so, anyway, there's my acknowledgement. Just, I mean, there's like I've already said it. There's more. There's not. We don't have words for the way that I feel for what you guys did there. But let me get into what happened. Where my next video was supposed to be, it was supposed to be an actually pretty fun video, because as you know, well, back in the day, around, when I lived in Portland, I used to have a whole separate desk. Well, I guess it would be this desk now, dedicated to just a big canvas of paper, and I would just take notes on that. But then I quickly realized it was much more efficient to just drown in text documents, which is what I do. I just have tons and tons of text documents for different things. One of them being video ideas, and where my next video was supposed to be, I was just going to go through, I already did. I went through my entire, like 2-3 years worth of video ideas that I never got around to. And I was just going to do them all back to back. It's like 40 topics, and they're all just short little stuff, mostly just weird little thoughts I've had while I was on weed or whatever, and just stuff that I wanted to make videos about. So I had that all lined up and ready to go. And but yeah, instead I got stupid and I tried to kill myself. Well, I'd be lying to say I tried to, but I was going to. If you guys saw that Taurus judge that I had after that incident, that it's the one that I showed you after that incident that happened in the hotel, where those guys I assume they tried to murder me, because they were going to murder me, because they let me see their faces and everything. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch my Facing the Abyss video. It's called Facing the Abyss and Escaping Murder. And it's probably one of the most intense videos I've ever done. And that incident is what led to the PTSD that I'm still trying to get out of now. But that was the exact same time that, like, my apartment kept getting broken into and my car kept getting tried for and my mom died, and there was a lot of traumatizing events that happened all on top of each other at once. I can't remember. Anyway, so I went to a doctor, a lot of doctors after that in Houston. Lots of psychiatrists, lots of therapists. Well, really only 2 therapists. 2 different GPs. You guys saw my endoscopy pictures that I had, that I showed you last year. Went to a cardiac specialist to make sure my heart was okay. Went to pulmonary specialist. to make sure my breathing was okay. Basically, I did everything I could to assure myself that all of my physical symptoms were a result of the stress and anxiety. And as far as I can tell, they still are. But as you can imagine, they've gotten exponentially worse. So it got to a point where when I was on my drive up here, what you guys saw in my going home video, that entire video I'm on Xanax. I'm on at least 1.5 milligrams a day, which is that's a respectable amount of Xanax. It's not way up there, but it's definitely something that you would need help getting off of. You can't just stop 1.5 milligrams. But yeah, I was taking 0.5 3 times a day during that time span. And it helped. It was doing its job. I wasn't freaking out. I was getting sleep. I made it through my move. It did its job. But then I tried to get off of it because I had it in my mind. Because the reason that I moved up here primarily was because when my GP, Dr. Kumar, down in Houston, saw how happy I was after I came back from my vacation up here last year in June, I came up here and visited just for the sake of nostalgia, because this is where I grew up as a kid. I have a lot of nostalgic value here. When he saw, when I came back to Houston at my next appointment, and he saw how happy I was because of the trip, he told me that the best thing I could do for my anxiety was to come back home. And that's what I did. So when I got here, and after my move and everything, I did everything I could to start getting off the Xanax. And my best friend, Owen, been my best friend for, God, almost 10 years now. He kind of freaked me out because he also goes through anxiety and stuff. And he's been on Xanax, and he's been through the ringer just like me with medications. Luckily not for the same reasons, but he has his own reasons. He was letting me know about the dangers of everything, and he really freaked me out about, the withdrawal and like seizures and all that stuff. So I started doing everything I could to start getting off the Xanax. And if there's anything worse than self-medicating when it comes to benzos, it's self-withdrawal, when you're trying to wean yourself off by yourself. Because that's something you really, really need professional help for. And I didn't take that into consideration. So what had happened was I was taking the Xanax, but then I switched over to Klonopin due to the longer half-life. Now if you're a person who already knows a lot about benzodiazepines, a lot of this is already going to be stuff you already know, but I'm going to speak as if the person listening to me right now doesn't know. So benzos, the half-life is what you really need to worry about. Xanax has the shortest half-life. The half-life is after you take it, how long after the high of it. Because yes, when you take the benzo, that's why they're so addictive. First of all, is when you take them, you get a really good high, and you feel very happy and you feel relaxed. That's why it pulls you out of the anxiety. It slows your central nervous system, and it calms you. It allows you to breathe, and it stops all thoughts from just firing in and piling in all at once. Which for me is what my anxiety comes from. It's just one thing leads to another, and before I know it, my thoughts are coming in faster than I can even acknowledge them. So so with the half-life of Xanax, you have to stay on top of it, especially when you were on the dose that I was on at 1.5 or more. Really over 1 milligram, you have to be careful, and you have to stay on top of it and take it at least once every 24 hours, and even that's pushing it, because the half-life is only 8 to 10 hours max, depending on the person. So that's why I switched to Klonopin. And that was actually I switched to the Klonopin prescription that Owen had, and I was taking the same dose, 0.5. I went from, due to the longer half-life, which while Xanax has the shortest half-life of all the benzos, it kicks in the fastest, and it has the best high, so it's the most effective for immediate anxiety cure. Like if you're going through a complete breakdown, like you're losing your shit, and you need immediate help, Xanax is what you take. But just for lingering anxiety and just general tension, Klonopin is a lot better because it has more than twice the half-life, and the high isn't as good. Like the high isn't as prominent. It's still there, it's still there enough to pull you out of any sort of negative feelings you're having, but it doesn't hit you as fast. So I was on the Klonopin, and the thing luckily with benzos, you can switch between the benzos almost on a dime. You can go from Xanax to Ativan to Valium to Klonopin. You can do that. You can really switch them back. It's really just because really the only difference is the half-life. Yes, there are some other differences depending on the person. Like for instance, when I take Valium, I took Valium for 1 day back in Houston, and that gave me crazy dreams. That was another video idea that I wanted to make, that I still need to get around to, because as some of you know, my longtime subscribers, I've been keeping a log of my dreams since November 2008. It stops around 2010, 2011 when I started smoking weed, because when you smoke weed, you stop. I don't know if you stop dreaming or you stop remembering your dreams. Regardless, it's the same outcome. I don't have a dream to write down when I wake up in the morning. So it kind of stops around 2011 with just sort of little entries here and there whenever I do happen to dream. But the Valium gave me crazy dreams, like the most lucid dreams I've ever had in my life, and there was no in between. There was no fault. There was no, like when you lay down and you close your eyes, there's a little bit of meditation before you actually drift off into sleep. With Valium, with me, there's none of that. As soon as I hit the pillow, I'm in the dream state. Like there's no in between, and it's very lucid and very vivid, meaning I can control it and it's very real. But the thing that I couldn't control on the Valium was the mood of the dreams. They were always very dreadful and dark. Like the one I had, I was like flying through Stormwind on World of Warcraft, and it was all like, it was even like more burnt down from Deathwing. Like he came back and he was like, nigga, this was not enough. I need to fuck this shit up more. Like they're starting to rebuild this shit. Like no, and like he just fucked it up more. And so I was like, okay, I need to go to Westfall, because Westfall is like, or Goldshire or Westfall, because that's like they're like a nice happy place. So I tried to go there, and they're all burning too, and it was. Anyway, that's what Valium does to me. So, like I said, some people have very specific, strange reactions to specific benzos, but other than that, you can really switch between them as you please. It's just the half-life you need to worry about. So, what had happened was I was on the Klonopin and I was doing good, and because of the half-life, I was able to go from, instead of 1.5 milligrams a day of Xanax, I went to 0.5 or. I was taking 0.5 3 times a day of Xanax, which equaled out to 1.5. But due to the longer half-life of Klonopin, I was able to do either 0.5 once a day or 0.5 twice a day. In fact, it got to a point where I was able to do 0.5 once every other day. But even that was kind of pushing it. But there was actually a month. If you go back to my Facebook, I don't know, people, those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, and you can find. By the way, you can find my Facebook on my channel. People always ask where to find me on Facebook. It's not hard. It's right there. So please add me on Facebook if you'd like to, because that's where I post shit that's not quite worth making a video about. Anyway, so I went. But if you look at my Facebook wall, I had a month where I posted recently that I was like, okay, I went from 45 milligrams a month to 4. The thing that I left out of that post was that it was forced, because the GP that I was given when I got here. Let me stop this video now, because this is about to lead into another thing. So